The town was barely more than a name on a faded map, a place where wind swept through abandoned storefronts and time itself seemed to hesitate. At the edge of that dusty stillness stood an old bar, carved from timber and cigarette smoke, its neon sign flickering like a heartbeat. Timothy hadn't been into town in weeks. Maybe longer. He preferred the silence of his ranch, the creak of saddle leather, the whisper of horses, the weight of solitude. A man made of muscle, sun, and calloused hands. 6'4", lean. Thank you for trying, verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. And rough around the edges. His tan was earned, his scars unspoken. He wore a weathered shirt that clung to a broad chest and faded jeans that hugged his hips like a second skin. The brim of his hat shaded eyes the color of ash and fire, steady, unreadable. He pushed open the door to the bar. Smoke coiled in the air. Dim lights flickered over cracked bar stools. The crowd was thin, a few lost men, nursing their drinks and regrets. And then he saw her. On stage, moving like honey on heat, was a woman. Thank you for trying, verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Who didn't belong to this place or time. She was a dream on fire. Long blonde hair curled over her shoulders like silk slipping from a secret. Her body was lithe and sharp, legs that went on forever, a tight waist, and full, high breasts cupped in a barely there lace corset. Black shorts hugged her hips like sin. Her skin glowed golden under the lights, kissed by sweat and rhythm. But it was her eyes, storm gray, smoky, that stopped him cold. Justine. She didn't dance for her tips. She danced like survival. Every thank you for trying, verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Sway of her hips was a scream she refused to voice. Every turn, every drop, every slow bend down the pole told a story of escape. He didn't blink. He didn't breathe. Their eyes met and time held its breath with them. She slowed. Just for a beat. Her hand slid up the pole. Her back arched. Her gaze never left his. He saw the fear behind the fire. She saw the control behind his calm. And something shifted. When her number ended, she disappeared behind the curtain. Moments later, she re-emerged. Thank you for trying, verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. In a low-cut black tank top and jeans that clung like a second skin. Her makeup was still perfect, her lips still red, but she looked more dangerous now. Less fantasy, more flame. She walked to the bar, stopped beside him without invitation. You don't look like the kind of man who drinks alone, she said, voice smoky and low. I wasn't, he answered, tipping his hat slightly. She smiled. Slowly. You're not from around here. No. You. Let's just say. Vegas lost its charm. He didn't push. She appreciated that. Thank you for trying, verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. They sat in silence for a moment. The tension between them thickened, not awkward, but loaded. Like something that hadn't yet been said but couldn't be unsaid once it was. Finally, she leaned in, her voice barely a whisper. You look like a man who doesn't scare easy. He met her eyes. And you look like a woman who's run far enough. That was it. The rest was movement, quiet, smooth, unspoken understanding. Timothy's truck rumbled down dirt roads with Justine in the passenger seat. She stared out the window, arms folded across her chest, jaw tight. He didn't ask questions. She didn't offer answers. But the silence between them felt like shelter. The ranch unfolded like a forgotten painting, hills fading into starlight, barns and fences etched in moon shadow. It was quiet. Honest. Real. Inside, the house smelled of pine wood, tobacco, and a man who lived simply. He showed her the guest room. "You'll be safe here," he said. "No one comes out this. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." Far. She nodded, then hesitated in the doorway. "Why are you helping me?" Timothy shrugged. "Because you looked like you needed it. And I don't like watching wolves circle a woman alone." She held his gaze. Her voice dropped. "That's what he is, you know. A wolf." He didn't ask who. "Not yet." "Then you sleep here tonight," he said, "and let the dogs howl at nothing." Morning. The sun hadn't crested the hills when Timothy was already outside, hauling feed and checking fence lines. The early air. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Was sharp, dry. His body moved on memory, muscle and instinct. Inside, Justine stirred. She rolled over, the sheets tangled around her thighs. She was wearing only one of his white shirts unbuttoned, slipping off one shoulder. She stretched, a lazy feline grace, and slid out of bed barefoot. Her hair was a mess. Her eyes still smoky from sleep. But as she stepped into the hallway, golden light spilled over her skin like honey. Timothy turned at the sound of floorboards creaking. She stood at the end of the hall barefoot. "Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." Half-dressed, sun-kissed, and glowing. And for a moment, he just stared. She wasn't a stranger anymore. She was a woman in his home. His space. His shirt. And damn if he didn't want her already. The day drifted into evening with a golden hush that hung low over the hills. Warm light pooled over the ranch, casting long shadows through the wooden slats of the windows. Justine had found a simple cotton dress in the wardrobe. Pale ivory, soft as a whisper. It clung to her hips, dipped low over her chest, and swayed around her thighs like it was meant to tempt the night itself. She wore no bra. The fabric was thin enough to show the faint outline of her nipples, and she didn't care. She thanked you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Moved through the kitchen barefoot, pulling ingredients from what little the pantry held: herbs, beans, garlic, a strip of beef. The act of cooking grounded her. The knife in her hand was not for defense but for creation. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, she felt still. Timothy returned at dusk, the collar of his shirt damp with sweat, his forearms dusted with earth and grit. He entered through the back porch, pausing in the doorway when he saw her. She stood at the stove, hips swaying slightly as she stirred something in a pot. "Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." The dress hugged her in all the right ways. Her hair was pinned up loosely, a few blonde strands falling around her neck like temptation. He didn't speak. He just watched. "You're just in time," she said, without turning. "Dinner. And I found wine." "Didn't know I had any," he murmured. She smiled over her shoulder. "You didn't. But you had bourbon." "I improvised." He stepped closer. The kitchen suddenly felt smaller. They ate by the open window. Crickets chirped outside, and the sky had gone the color of deep bruised velvet. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Single candle flickered between them. She poured the bourbon into mismatched glasses, her fingers brushing his. She didn't pull away. They talked little things at first. How he got the ranch, where she learned to dance. Neither said what really hung between them, how close they were, and how much they already wanted. When they finished, she rose slowly, smoothing her dress down over her thighs. "I should clean up," she said. But she didn't move. He stood. The tension snapped. They met halfway. His hands found her waist warm. "Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." Firm, grounding. Hers slid up his chest, over his shoulders, into his hair. Their mouths found each other like magnets. This kiss wasn't polite. It was aching. "Starved?" He pushed her gently against the kitchen wall, and she gasped when his thigh pressed between hers. Her arms wrapped around his neck, pulling him closer, and when their tongues met, she whimpered soft and breathless. The kiss broke, but neither stepped back. "I haven't felt safe in a long time," she whispered. He looked into her eyes. "You're safe now. Then touch me like thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. I'm yours." That was all it took. He lifted her into his arms like she weighed nothing and carried her down the hallway, into his room, this time not the guest one. The bed was wide, the windows open, the night air cool and full of stars. He laid her down gently, and she pulled him on top of her, her hands already working the buttons of his shirt. Her lips found his chest, then his neck, then his mouth again. His hands roamed her thighs, then under her dress, and he found she "Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Wore nothing beneath." He growled low, hungry, primal. "You did that on purpose," he said. She grinned against his skin. "Maybe." The dress slid up over her head in one slow motion, and she lay bare before him, pale and golden and flushed with need. Her breasts rose and fell with each breath. Her skin prickled under his touch. He explored her like land he'd never walked, slow, reverent, worshipful. His mouth moved from her collarbone down to her breasts, his tongue circling her nipple until she cried out, fingers twisting. "Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." In the sheets. He slid lower, kissing the inside of her thighs, his beard scraping her skin, until her hips arched off the bed in silent plea. And when he finally put his mouth on her, she trembled. She tried to stay quiet, but the sounds slipped out, broken moans, ragged gasps, her body pulsing with every flick of his tongue. When she came, it was violent and beautiful. Her legs clamped around his shoulders, her hands clawed the air, and she called his name like it meant salvation. But he wasn't done. He thanked you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Kissed his way back up her body, and she grabbed his belt, unfastened it, pulled him free. She looked up at him, eyes glazed with lust, and whispered, "I want you inside me." He didn't need to be asked twice. He slid into her slowly, thick, deep, filling. She exhaled a trembling "oh God," her nails digging into his back. They moved together, slow at first, as if learning the shape of each other's pain and pleasure. Then faster, deeper, rougher. Their bodies slapped together in the dark, breathless, and thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Wet and wild. She met him thrust for thrust, sweat dripping from her temples, her moans growing louder as she neared again. He buried his face in her neck, one hand gripping her hip, the other between her thighs, stroking, pressing, teasing until her orgasm tore through her like a storm. She screamed his name, back arched, fingers digging into his shoulders. He followed, groaning her name into her mouth as he came hard, hips jerking, body shaking with the release. They lay tangled in each other, limbs heavy, breath shared. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Outside, the wind whispered through the grass. Inside, her head rested on his chest. Neither spoke. There was nothing left to say, not after a night like that. The morning came too quietly. Justine awoke in Timothee's bed, wrapped in nothing but the tangled scent of him. Her body ached in the best way, a delicious soreness that reminded her of the night before. She stretched under the sheet and smiled, letting the sunlight kiss her bare skin. In the kitchen, Timothy was already moving, calm, practiced, grounded. But even before the coffee finished brewing, he felt it. A sound. A rumble. Low. Distant. Approaching. Engines. His eyes narrowed. 2, maybe 3 vehicles. 2. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Many. Too early. Too far off the main road. He was already out the door before Justine pulled on his shirt and stumbled into the hallway. "Timothy?" she asked, but her voice faltered the moment she saw his face. He looked at her. "Pack a bag. Now." She didn't ask. She didn't need to. She already knew who it was. 2 black jeeps. Dust kicked up like smoke signals across the plain. 7 men armed. Ready. And leading them all, Jalon. He was just as she remembered. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Slicked back hair, cold smirk, hands that had once touched her like possession, not passion. He wanted her back. Not because he missed her, but because she had the audacity to leave. They rode hard. Timothy's horses were fast, trained for the terrain. The trail twisted through arroyos, up into the canyon. The jeeps couldn't follow, not all the way, but the sound chased them like a storm. Justine clung to him from behind, her arms around his waist, her cheek pressed to his back. Her fear was real. Her breath was thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Shallow. But under it was something else. She wasn't running anymore. She was riding. With him. They climbed higher until the trees swallowed them, until the world below became a distant hum. Timothy pulled the reins, bringing the horses to a stop beside an old game trail. Below, a hidden valley. A waterfall crashed into a crystalline lake, surrounded by pines. Steam rose gently from the water. The air was cooler, purer, untouched. Safe. For now. They made camp quickly, a fire, a blanket, nothing more. But their thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Was no sleep. Justine sat close to the flames, her knees drawn up, Timothy's jacket around her shoulders. The firelight danced in her eyes, but it couldn't chase away what she felt. He won't stop, she whispered. Timothy didn't look at her. He stared into the fire, jaw tense. Neither will I. She turned toward him slowly. I don't know what I'm more scared of, she said. Him, or how I feel when I look at you. His gaze met hers. You should be scared of neither. Silence. Heavy. Hot. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. She stood. Let the jacket slip off her shoulders. Underneath nothing. She walked toward the water. He followed. The lake was cold at first. But the closer they got to the waterfall, the more the air shimmered with heat. Mist curled around them, soft and ghost-like. The moon rose above the trees, silver and sharp. She stepped into the water first. Her skin glowed pale in the moonlight, nipples tightening in the chill. She shivered, but didn't stop. She looked back at him, eyes defiant. Tempting. He stripped. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Wordlessly. Every inch of him was raw strength, hard abs, broad shoulders, thighs like carved stone. His cock was already thickening, not just from lust, but from everything: adrenaline, fear, need. She watched him approach. And when he reached her, the water barely up to her thighs, he pressed his body against hers, and she gasped at the heat of him in the cold. I could have lost you today, he said. You don't have me yet, she whispered. Don't I? And then he kissed her hard. The water crashed. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Around them, drowning sound, but not feeling. He lifted her up against the rock wall behind the falls, and she wrapped her legs around him, her slick thighs sliding against his hips. His mouth was everywhere: neck, breasts, collarbone, mouth. She moaned, loud, free. His hand slid between her legs, fingers parting her folds, finding her already wet, not from the water. You want this? He growled. She bit his shoulder. I want you. He pushed inside her in one smooth, hungry thrust. She cried out, head back, back arching. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Against the stone. He filled her, stretched her, claimed her. Each movement was urgent, deliberate, driven by everything they'd run from. The rhythm of his hips matched the pulse of the waterfall, deep, strong, unrelenting. She clung to him, nails raking his back, legs locked around him. She was slick, trembling, gasping his name. Her orgasm came fast, violent, tearing through her like lightning. He didn't stop. He fucked her through it, faster now, his jaw clenched, his breath ragged. When he came, he groaned deep in her neck, burying "Thank you for trying" verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Himself in her with a final thrust that made her shudder all over again. They stayed there, panting, the water washing over their skin, their heat, their fear. And when they finally emerged, wet and trembling, wrapped in the same blanket by the fire, it wasn't just bodies touching. It was something else. Something dangerous. Something real. The fire had burned low. Only glowing embers remained, soft, warm pulses of orange light that flickered against their skin. Wrapped in a wool blanket, they lay tangled on the forest floor beneath the open night sky. The stars above seemed impossibly close, like diamonds pressed against black velvet. The air was cool, sharp, still filled with mist from the waterfall. Justine's head rested on Timothy's chest. His arm lay draped around her, fingers slowly stroking her spine. Neither spoke for a long time. But the silence between them had changed. "Thank you for trying" verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. No longer heavy with tension, it now pulsed with a quiet intimacy, something tentative, something delicate. A thread pulling them towards something neither had asked for but both were starting to need. He felt her stir against him. "I never expected this," she said quietly. "Any of it." His voice was low, rough from the cold and the night. "Expected what?" She shifted, lifting her head to look at him. "You. This place. The way I feel right now." He studied her face. The firelight played across her features, lips still swollen. "Thank you for trying" verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. From kisses, hair tangled, eyes tired but open. "I'm not who I used to be," she added. "I don't know who I am now." "You don't have to be anything here," he said simply. "Just stay." Her expression wavered. "Stay," she echoed. He nodded once. "You're not safe," she whispered. "I bring danger." "He'll keep looking." "I know. And you're still asking me to stay." Timothy shifted slightly, turning onto his side so he could brush a lock of hair from her face. "Because I'd rather have one more night." "Thank you for trying" verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. "Like this with you even if it costs me everything, then go back to not knowing what it's like to hold you like this." She didn't answer right away. Her breath caught in her throat, and for a moment, he thought she might pull away. But then, she leaned in, pressed her lips to his. Soft. Grateful. Lingering. She woke before him. Wrapped in nothing but the blanket, she sat up slowly, the early light catching on the smooth curve of her shoulder and thigh. Her hair was "Thank you for trying" verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. A wild mess around her face, and her skin glowed from the heat of fire and sex and sleep. She looked at him, this rough man who had given her nothing but silence, safety, and the space to be herself. She slipped out from under the blanket and padded barefoot to the edge of the lake. The mist still hung low over the water, the waterfall rumbling in the distance like a sleeping god. She dipped her toes in, then slid into the water, cold, biting, but somehow healing. Her breath hissed through her teeth. Thank you for trying, verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. But she didn't retreat. She let the water pull her under, rinse her clean. When she came back up, she gasped, not just from the cold, but from clarity. She was no longer the woman who had danced for dollars and survival. She was something else now. Something more. Timothy awoke moments later, his hand reaching instinctively for her. When he found the blanket empty, he stood and followed the trail of wet footprints down to the water. She was standing waist deep in the lake, her arms crossed over her. Thank you for trying, verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Bare chest, head tilted up to the sky. He didn't speak. He didn't interrupt. He just watched. And when she turned to look at him, her hair slicked back, her lips parted, her eyes wide open. Something passed between them again. Not lust. Not fear. Something quieter. Stronger. Possibility. They ate in silence that morning, hard-boiled eggs, leftover bread, dried fruit. Simple. Familiar. But everything was different. She sat beside him, not across. Her knee brushed his. Her hand reached for his without thank you for trying, verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Hesitation. And when she leaned her head against his shoulder, he didn't move, didn't breathe, just held it. They stayed there that day. Let the horses rest. Let the threat hang unspoken. But as the sun began to fall again, and the shadows stretched long and hungry, Timothy finally spoke. He won't stop until he finds us. Justine nodded slowly. Then maybe it's time we stop running. The mountains were quiet at dawn, wrapped in cool mist, broken only by the distant rustle of wind through pine needles and the sleepy crackle of dying embers. Justine stirred first, wrapped in Timothy's jacket. Her bare skin still hummed from the night they'd shared water, firelight, whispered promises between gasps of pleasure. He lay nearby, one arm thrown behind his head, peaceful in sleep. She smiled. And then the sound shattered everything. Engines. Tires on gravel. Shouts. Timothy bolted upright. One glance at her, and they both knew. Thank you for trying, verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Run, he said. Now. Justine didn't ask questions. She grabbed his revolver, still damp from the night before, and swung onto her mare as Timothy saddled his stallion. Through the trees, black jeeps broke into the clearing like beasts from hell. One in front. Two behind. And standing through the open rooftop of the lead vehicle, John. Her past. Her mistake. Her nightmare. He spotted her instantly. Justine. His voice cracked the valley like a whip. You think you can hide from me? They rode hard, hooves hammering the earth, ducking. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Under low branches, weaving between stone outcroppings. Bullets tore through the trees. One ricocheted off a rock, narrowly missing Timothy's shoulder. He flinched, but didn't slow. They reached the ridge, narrow, dangerous, slick from last night's rain. Justine's breath came in hot gasps. Her legs clung to the saddle. Sweat trickled down her back. Every glance at Timothy, the way his jaw clenched, his arm slick with blood from a grazing shot, made her heart thunder louder than the gunfire behind them. Then, a break in the cliffs too sharp to gallop through. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Go! Timothy shouted, jerking his reins. To the left. I'll cover. But he was hit. This time, not a graze. His body jolted, and he tumbled sideways over the cliff's edge, into the river below. Timothy! Justine screamed. But there was no time. Arms seized her. Men surrounded her. She kicked, screamed, spat, but there were too many. And then he was there. John. Smiling like a wolf. Hello again, baby. The hunter's cabin was buried deep in the pines. A place where secrets went to die. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Justine was dragged inside, wrists bound, eyes burning. They shoved her onto a worn leather sofa. John leaned against the wall, watching her like a man studying prey. You always liked it wild, didn't you? He said, sipping whiskey. She said nothing. Just glared, her chest rising and falling, her lips red from the cold and the chase. A third figure entered the hunter. Tall, silent, rough as bark. He'd helped capture her. A few bills from John bought his loyalty. Or so they thought. John knelt before her. All those nights in Vegas. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. The way you used to beg. I gave you everything, and you just ran like a bitch in heat. Justine looked him dead in the eye. I ran because I survived you. He slapped the table beside her, inches from her thigh. Not her. But close. You think that cowboy's coming? He's probably bleeding out in a stream somewhere. She didn't flinch. John grabbed her jaw, tilting her face. But here's the thing, baby. I remember every inch of you. Every noise you made. And I think you do too. She jerked free. I thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Remember hating it? He laughed. We'll see about that. He leaned in, lips brushing her ear. I can make you beg again. You always liked it rough. But Justine wasn't the girl he once controlled. She turned her head slowly, locking eyes with him, her voice low and razor sharp. You couldn't make me feel anything anymore. Tension snapped like wire. The fire crackled low in the hunter's den, casting flickering shadows on the walls as if the cabin itself were holding its breath. Justine sat bound to the heavy wooden chair, her thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Wrists raw from the rope, her breath shaky but controlled. Her eyes, however cold, furious, unyielding, never left the man in front of her. John. He paced slowly, like a predator circling his prey. The collar of his leather jacket was turned up, shadowing half his face, but the cruel curve of his smile was unmistakable. "You thought he could protect you," he sneered, swirling whiskey in his glass. "That wild-eyed ranch boy? Come on, baby. You know me better." Justine didn't respond. She was too focused on the door. The sound of wind. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Through pine branches outside. The creak of wood under boots may be imagined. Maybe not. "You always liked it when things got messy," John said, stepping close. His hand grazed her cheek. "All that I hate you fire in your eyes. That's just foreplay, sweetheart." She turned her face away. But her pulse raced. Not from fear, from fury. "I've changed," she said, her voice low and firm. "You still think you own me. But I'm not yours. I was never yours." John crouched in front of her, his mouth a breath away from "Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." Hers. "We'll see about that." He leaned in, but the door exploded open. Timothy. Rain-soaked, bloodied, furious but alive. In his hands, a revolver, cocked and aimed. John froze, lips parted, inches from Justine. The hunter stood behind them, startled, a man paid to assist, not to die. "Step away," Timothy growled. John raised his hands, but Timothy didn't blink. His eyes were locked on Justine. She met them and everything else melted away. The ropes, the blood, the fear irrelevant. She was still his. He "Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." Was still hers. Then, in a sudden blur, Justine twisted her chair just enough to catch John off guard. Timothy fired. The shot clipped John's shoulder, sending him crashing into the wall with a grunt. The hunter bolted. Timothy moved to Justine, slicing the ropes with his blade. The moment she was free, her arms wrapped around his neck, her body pressing into his as if afraid he'd vanish again. "You came," she whispered. His lips brushed her ear. "Always." Their kiss was feral, not soft, not sweet. It was need. Relief. A "Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." Violent, desperate reunion of souls who thought they'd lost each other. He pulled her into the shadows of the cabin, behind the curtain of an unused bed. Their hands fumbled, urgent, trembling. Her blouse torn open. His belt unbuckled. Their skin met in a collision of sweat, rain, and electricity. She straddled him, moaning his name through gritted teeth, as the last remnants of fear melted into the heat of her body. He kissed her throat, her collarbone, down to her chest, whispering over her skin, "You're mine now. No one touches you. No one hurts you. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased." She answered with a gasp, pulling him closer. "Then take me like you mean it." Their bodies collided again and again, desperate for each other in a place meant for pain now transformed into sanctuary. Outside, the wind howled. But inside the den, they made a storm of their own, one of vengeance, redemption, and lust so raw it scorched the air. And as dawn broke, wrapped in the aftermath of their reunion, Justine lay in Timothy's arms. Free. Alive. And finally, untouchable. Thank you for trying verbose. This recording will go away once the product has been purchased. Liked the story? Listen to the continuation in the next video.